Hello, my name is Una and welcome to this week's Granny's Garden. This week I'm actually quite excited because for the first time in many months due to lockdown and restrictions, I am going to be visiting our local garden centre. In our small mountain village we have a garden centre. It's not huge, but it does usually have a variety of annuals and perennials that are very interesting. I need to do some preparatory work. My idea is to finally get around to planting up the containers in the front garden porch. I need to rip out all these pansies that have been looking extremely sad over the last few months. I want to remove a good, say, 3 inches of soil which is probably devoid of all sorts of nutrients. I want to put in new soil. I want to replace the drip system, which is really old, and some of them are working okay and others are a little bit dodgy. So once that's done, it's into the car and off to the garden centre to see what they have on offer. there's no air pockets round. Gently over, because that's going to really bush out. Two little spider plants I'll just push in the corner. In Spain, either geraniums or pelargoniums are generally referred to as geraniums. A quick tip for differentiating between the two of them is that a geranium has 5 petals and all of them are the same, totally symmetrical. Whereas a pelargonia for me is like the smiley face. It's got 2 little petals on the top and 3 little petals on the bottom. So it looks like the 2 little eyes and then the little smile at the bottom. My way of remembering which one is which. This geranium is from last year. It was a tiny little cutting and it's now quite a sizable plant. And this is the one I planted new from the garden centre. This is a slightly deeper pink. It'll fill out and eventually cover all of this with just the spider plant in the middle. Now the spider plant is from South Africa and most people plant a spider plant as an indoor plant. I'm not really into indoor gardening, so I try and take as much as I can out into the garden. Now this was a present and I got it as a very small little spiderette, and it's a perennial from zones 9 to 11. I garden in zone 6. However, last year I took it out and put it in as usual with my experimenting and tried it out. Now above me I do have a slightly overhanging roof, so the worst of the frost doesn't fall on top of it. And it's grown, it's actually huge, from a little spiderette up to this, it's grown huge. When the temperature started to get cold in the autumn, it did nothing. It stopped growing and was like in a status of hibernation. And once the spring came back, it started to take off. Now I will say that after the winter, it got some brown tips, but nothing spectacular. It got about maybe 2.5 inches of brown tips. But I just cut that out in the spring and it just bounced back. Supposedly you can take it down to about 2 degrees above zero, 2 degrees Celsius. I was at -5 degrees and it survived. And it not only survived, but it thrived. So just try and push your limit sometimes. You've got really nothing to lose. So this is the first simple container. A nice bushy spider plant, which gives you the effect of a grass, but isn't a grass. And then of course the geranium. Geraniums of course you have to have in Spain. I would recommend, if you come to the south of Spain ever, there's a town called Córdoba, and from the 1st to the 15th of May every year they have what they call Festival de Patios de Córdoba, which is basically they open their patios. Let's say one thing first. In Spain, in Córdoba, it gets really hot in summer. It can get up to 50 degrees Celsius, which is close on 120 degrees Fahrenheit. So the houses are built in a square around the central courtyards, and these central courtyards are lovely and cool, and they tend to be planted up with loads of plants, but especially geraniums. So I'm just going to put 2 photographs up here so you can see what these patios look like. Now from the 1st to the 15th of May, they're open to the public, and some of them are free and others have guided tours, but well worth a visit. And outside those dates, some of them are actually open all year round, so any tourist guide will say which ones they are. The next container is dead simple. I've just got some petunias here and some coleus in the background. Now, the petunias I've got in the centre, which is this dark purplish, are the more compact ones. They're going to grow up. And then the ones that I've got on the side are what they call here colgantes, which are the ones that hang over. These containers drop over the edge of the porch onto the lower mixed border, so they've got a good, say, 3 feet to 4 feet before I hit the ground. So they've got loads of room to develop and spill over. These are 2 coleus that I picked up in the local garden centre. I've never grown one this light colour before. Usually I tend to go for the more dark coleus. This is sort of like a light chartreuse green with some deeper stainings on the leaves. And I'm hoping it's sort of like going to be picked up by the deep purple here in the centre. So another very simple container. This will go through now until really the first frost, because here in my zone, definitely when that first frost hits, it's a goner. It just overnight, it just drops dead and looks totally miserable. But again, very simple, and these will probably go through to the end of summer as well. So I won't have to do anything with this container now until the fall, until autumn. Now I'm keeping this container. Hello, Lily. Hello. Hello there. You're a good girl. You're a good girl. Now I'm keeping this container very simple because I absolutely adore this begonia. This is a begonia boliviensis. It's from the Andes Mountains in Bolivia originally, obviously, They're usually two types. There's either ones with the green leaves, or in this case, one with the dark foliage. Now the dark foliage with this orangey salmon colour is absolutely magnificent. And this is going to reach about 1 to 2 feet high, and with a spread of 1 to 2 feet. That's about 30 to 60 centimetres high and 30 to 60 centimetres wide. So it's going to take over this. Now I have planted 2 little spiderettes, which are the, say, daughters of the spider plant I have over there. Begonias don't like being watered from overhead, so it's always best to install some sort of drip tubing, or if you are watering, just lift it up very carefully with your hands and water from underneath. Now, unfortunately, I ran out of plants by the time I got to this container. So this is just a muscari. It's got a very short blooming time, and I will say I'm not overly enthusiastic. I know some people are going to hate me for this. I'm not overly enthusiastic about the flowers of the muscari. They last for a very short time. However, I do like the structure, this grassy structure. Now, if you do, just a tip from me, if you do run out of plants, or if something you plant is a bit small and you're waiting for it to bush out, what I always have on hand are these little plastic IKEA plants. And if you just bury the container inside, you actually have to go quite close to notice that they aren't actually real. And they do give you time either to buy some more plants or for smaller plants to bush out. And then if the smaller plants bush out, you lift them out and you're none the wiser. So it's just a little tip of what I do to save some money on plants, or not to overplant container, which I'm not too enthusiastic about. Well, that's the containers planted up in the front porch now for the whole of the summer. I will be giving you updates on the progress of these plants because I'm expecting most of them to really blossom out and take on a lot of volume over these coming weeks and months. If you have liked this video, give it a thumbs up, and as always, please subscribe to help this channel grow. And I'll see you next week. So from Granny's Garden and from me, Una, it's bye bye.